Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video. In fact, this is my 150th video. It's very exciting. We love these round numbers. Don't know what I'm going to do to try to make it special. I'm thinking I might put up some sort of new table of contents to make it easier to find the different pieces of videos or segments that are in there. But I don't know, you'll see it on the website. Anyway, so today is December 12th, and I'm starting a whole new batch of episodes. When we left off the last time, we had just gotten the save as dialog functioning. So here we have the dialog, and we pull it down, and it comes up. And when I say functioning, I mean we have it coming up, but it doesn't actually save anything yet. That does nothing. So what we need to do now is we actually need to get that to work. And as I said at the end of the last video, I honestly have no idea how to do this. So, we're gonna just explore it. So where do we want to start? Well, there were some nice suggestions that came in from viewers. Thank you for that. One of the ones that came in was from Matthias Fredsberg. Once again, I'm butchering names. Sorry about that. And he suggests using a thread.yield rather than a thread.sleep in our application frame test. And that's one of those forehead slapping moments because, yeah, duh, I should have used thread.yield, not thread.sleep. Let's see what that does. So if we use the sleep, the test fails, the test runs in, what is going on there? Doesn't want a number. It fails in, I think, about 20 milliseconds. 113. 92, 123. Okay, so about a tenth of a second. Now if we change that to thread.yield, as long as we're getting approximately the same result, I will be happy. And 31, 86, 104, so still about 100 milliseconds. That's great. 74, it's actually coming out a little bit faster, although with tests like this you can never tell. The reason I care is because we just never really, it's important that our tests run fast. They should, over time you're going to have hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of these unit tests. And I think it's really important that they run fast. So I think the thread.yield solution is a much more elegant approach than this thread.sleep. It allows us to get rid of that bogus exception. It allows us to get rid of this check frequency. It's just all around more elegant. So I would have preferred it unless it was a lot slower than the old approach. But I did want to just double check that. And it doesn't surprise me that it was about the same or even faster. That's what I would expect from thread.yield. So now that we've done that, we don't need check frequency, which is done. So let's go to refactor and change our method signature and remove check frequency. There we go. That should still pass. Great, great. I think that reads much nicer. That frequency, which somebody else mentioned was actually the wrong name for that, also was not a very, it was kind of a confusing thing to have as part of our method call. So I'm much happier with this. So let's see. Looking at it, it occurs to me that the asynchronous assertion could take this 1000 as a parameter. It actually kind of makes more sense for it to be a parameter, maybe. But I'm going to leave it as is. I don't want to spend too much time futzing with this, because what I'm really doing is avoiding the question, which is how are we going to test the persistence? So let's go ahead and take this out. That's done. Tony, who didn't give a last name, suggested an email that I consider the window licker framework for UI testing, particularly swing testing. And I did take a look at it. It looks very interesting. The documentation was fairly poor, but it looked like a really neat tool. And it looked like, I think it was Nat Price who was working on it, who's one of the authors of Growing Object-Oriented Software Guided by Tests, which I hear is a very good book, although I haven't read it yet, and is also one of the creators, along with Steve Freeman, of the mocking concept, or at least, as far as I know, they created mock objects. So, window looker, promising, check it out. I'm pretty happy with what I have now, though, so I'm not gonna try it right now. So I'll just put that down here. Tool for swing testing, window licker. Okay. All right. Now with that out of the way, I think everything else we have in here is pretty much good. So what we need to do now is we need that save as dialog to actually save a file. Specifically, when we click the save button, we need it to do something. Now, one way to approach this would be to use that window licker framework and actually click the save button. But I don't want to do that. There's multiple reasons for that. One, I think the question of which dialog we're using is kind of irrelevant, in a sense. I mean, for this one, it is relevant. Two, I suspect it's going to be pretty slow. Three, I don't want to use a whole new framework. But most importantly, I think this is a question of design. I think we can design our software such that the choice of dialog display mechanism, which we've tested, is separate from our choice of how we handle the OK button push. What we want this to do is when the save is actually done, we want to test that a file is created. And at this point, the only thing I'm going to do is create a file. I'm not going to put anything in it. I'm just going to say, yes, we can create a file. That's independent of the UI. It doesn't matter what dialog we use. The code to actually create the file is going to be completely independent. And so I want our test to be completely independent. And that's why I don't want to use window licker or anything else that's going to push a button on the UI for me. I don't know if I'm being really clear about this, but I think this is a fundamental design distinction when you're making that you should make when you're writing unit tests or doing test-driven development. Only test the thing that you're actually coding. We're not actually coding the dialog, so we don't want to test it. And that's going to force design issues that you might not have thought of otherwise. So the only problem is, how do we actually do that? Well, again, I'm not sure. I think what we're going to need to do is wrap this file dialog in its own component that we can then do something with. Not exactly sure. Let's look at the code. So here we are in application frame. We've got the save as menu item. Here it is saying do something. So, and what we're doing is when the save as dialog is clicked, we are creating the dialog, we're displaying it. Now, if we weren't doing testing, the next obvious thing to do would be to say if dialog dot get file name come on, it's not equal to null, then do save stuff here. So And one way to test that would be to go back into application frame and actually click the button and then look to see if the file was saved and so forth. It's really the wrong spot. In fact, the UI is the wrong spot for this, for saving in general. I think what I want to do is, bear with me, I'm just sort of working the design through in my mind. I haven't really thought about this since I started the video. I haven't been thinking about this at all in the last month or however long it's been since I last recorded. So I kind of want to be able to say persisterer, dot do save. Oh, I did get file name. Is that what I want? That's one piece of it. So I can test that that persisterer is saving properly. But then there's the other question of, am I handling this line of code properly? The if not equals null, then do save, otherwise, well, do nothing. I wonder if I should start to work on the persisterer first and then hook them together later, because I don't want the design of the persisterer, or whatever it's going to be unduly contaminated by the design of the save as menu item. How do we handle this in other places? If we actually look at our application, how are we hooking these things up? I mean, we actually have user interface input, and that's causing things to happen. How do we do that? Well, the new menu item, we just do it. And same for the close. And I think that's appropriate. Those are all UI level things. For the actual table, you look in here and there's nothing in here about that. It just says, put together a forecast table. So if we go look at the forecast table, it is, oh, well, that's not where our actual UI components come from. Or that's not where our user interface input comes from. It comes from our $text field, which comes from our configuration panel. So our application frame is putting in a configuration panel. The configuration panel is putting in fields. Those fields are $text fields, and there it is. There's our text change. So that's what's actually making stuff go. And we're using application model to mediate it. So maybe what that means is that we should tell application model it's time to save. That might work pretty well. That would follow the pattern we've already got, and it feels reasonably clean to me. And then the application model can actually go mediate all that. Now, application model says set starting balance. It's listening to the field, and then it gets the dollar amount from the field, which is okay. We can do the same thing with our save dialog. Then we say set starting balance. Well, I think we're starting to creep up on this. I guess, but that's our time. So next time we'll look into the design of this a little bit further, and then hopefully get started coding on it. So thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.